Good morning Year 6, Mrs Green here with your Friday maths lesson. But before we start that, I just want to say well done. You have reached the end of another week, and actually we are halfway there. In just a few more weeks we will have a week off and we'll be at half term. Now I know that sometimes you might be losing a little bit of motivation, but what you must remember is we are all very impressed with what you are doing. We are loving the amount of work that you have been sending in, so do keep it up. Okay, now it's time for me to announce our TT Rockstars winners and to show you some good examples of work that we've been seeing coming in. Right, here is my shout out to two young ladies in Year 6, Olivia B for setting her work out in a clearly labelled and logical way, and Lexi J for using examples to justify her answer in a reasoning question. Super work, girls. You will both be rewarded with 2 dojos each for aspiration. Okay, so now it's time to reveal the winner from each class based on the most correct answers for the past week. Okay, let's see who we have. James for 6P, Holly for 6R, Erin for 6G, and Kyra for 6M. All you 4 children will be rewarded with 2 dojos for aspiration. Okay, before we move on, a helpful website for you. As you've got access to the internet, if you do a Google search, you can type in Oxford Owl multiplication online activity and scroll down to your age group to 9 to 11 if you want to do that. And then I've given you an idea of something you could practice. You could practice rounding and factors, but there are other things that you could play as well. It's a way of you practicing a lot of the things that we've already learnt in school, so to revise some of the key mathematical topics, but to do it in a fun way because there's lots of quizzes and games to play. Okay, on to our starter task. So, true or false? To estimate 17 times 9.2, you could round 9.2 to 10. Do you agree? Is it true or false? Write your answer down on a piece of paper now. True or false? Okay, it is true. So well done if you put true, and this is the reason why. As we all know, multiplying by 10 is a lot easier. We don't need to do a formal written method. We can do it in our heads. We've all learned that multiplying by 10, you are just moving one column up to make it bigger. So it's a much easier mental strategy to use. Okay, let's have a go now though at actually calculating the exact answer. Now, we have been practicing long multiplication this week, but I've made this a little bit trickier because I've added in a decimal point. So we still have to use long multiplication. How would we do it differently? Okay, now this is your turn to have a go. Have a go at trying to solve this. So pause the video now and then we'll come back all together and I'll model how I would approach this. Okay, well first of all I would approach it just like long multiplication. The only difference is I would pretend the decimal point is not there. So 9.2 in my eyes would become 92, making it the biggest number. So 92 would go first, 17 would go underneath again in their correct columns. But to remind myself that there was a decimal point to begin with, I would write to the right 1dp. Okay, so I know at the end I've got to put that decimal point back in to 1 decimal place. Okay, now 1 decimal place means that one number, 1 digit, comes after the decimal point. Okay, again I've got my smiley face, my placeholder, because I'm going to be moving from the ones column to the tens column. So let's start with the ones. So 7 times 2 is 14. You can see I've got my 14, 4 ones there, and my 10 is carried. 7 times 9 is 63, and add that 1 makes it 64. Moving over to my tens column, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 9 is 9, and then add them all together. 4 add 0 is 4, 4 add 2 is 6, and 6 add 9 is 15, and not forgetting to put that decimal point back in. So my answer is 156.4. Okay, so today we are going to be revising some mental and written methods. Okay, so key vocabulary for the lesson that you need to consider: addition, subtraction, division and multiplication, not just in terms of the written methods but in terms of the operations. Okay, considering fractions and decimals And you have to think very carefully about the strategy that you are going to use to approach some of these problems. Do you need to have a formal calculation? Is that going to be the most efficient method to use, or can you do mental maths? Could you do the strategy in your head? Okay, so we're going to revise something that we have done this week. At the beginning of the week, we looked at subtracting mixed number fractions. So, how would we approach this? Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, well, I would approach the problem this way, okay. First of all, because they're mixed number fractions, with subtraction it makes it a little bit more tricky. I'm going to convert them from mixed number fractions to improper fractions. So we know the denominator stays the same. So 3 times 4 is 12, add 2 is 14, 14 thirds. 6 times 1 is 6, add 5 is 11, so 11 sixths. But I can't subtract because they've got different denominators, so I need to look for the lowest common multiple, which in this case would be 6. So I've only got to convert one of my fractions. Okay, 11 6 can remain the same. How many 3's go into 6? 2. So 14 multiplied by 2 is 28. And now I can subtract. 28 take away 11 is 17. 17 6 converted back to a mixed number fraction is 2 and 5 6. Okay, and then we moved on this week to multiplying fractions by integers, by a whole number. So pause the video now and have a go at this one. And then once again, I'll show you how I would approach this. Okay, so one helpful tip, one strategy that we learned this week is to make your whole number into a fraction. Okay, now by putting it over 1 doesn't change the value of that fraction at all. 12 over 1 is an improper fraction. If we were to convert it back, it would still make 12. So it is equivalent to 12 whole ones anyway. And then we know our steps to success. We multiply the numerator. 12 times 1 is 12. And we multiply the denominator. 1 times 2 is 2. And we have to convert that back into a mixed number fraction. But in this case, it's not a mixed number fraction. It is just 6 whole ones. Okay, something else to bring your attention to. I am mindful that loads of you have been engaging with these online lessons. Lots of you are going on TT Rockstars and lots of you are going on Spelling Shed, but not so many of you have been going on Math Shed. So Math Shed you can get onto in exactly the same way as you get onto Spelling Shed. You use the same login details. So I want you to log on and click onto Math Shed because there are some games for you to have a go at. Lots of quizzes as well. I have set 2 quizzes this week for you to have a go at that will enable you to practice adding and subtracting fractions as well as multiplying fractions. Okay, we're going to have a go at a quiz now. So I'm going to show you 5 questions. Okay, multiple choice with multiple choice answers. Okay, so can you write down on a piece of paper now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are your 5 questions. As you can see, there is a blue rectangle. Okay, that blue rectangle is actually going to be your timer. You need to write down the answer, so choosing one of the 4 multiple choice questions, one of the multiple choice answers. You need to choose it before the blue rectangle reaches the other side. Okay, off we go then, guys. So use the number line representation to find the answer to 5 2/3. Okay, time's up. We should have put 3 1/10. Okay, now you're getting the hang of it. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, find the answer to 8 2/5. And our answer is 3 1/5. Okay, moving on to number 3. Find the answer to 4 3/5. Okay, time's up. 2 2/5. Question 4. Find the answer to 3 6/7. So 3 times 6/7. Okay, time's up. 2 4/7. And the last question now, question 5. Find the answer to 5 times 3/8. And the answer is 1 7/8. Okay, if you managed to get all 5 questions right, fantastic. If you didn't, don't worry. This now gives you the opportunity to log on to MathShed and have a practice of these sorts of games. Okay, another question to practice. This question commonly comes up. So, you might have seen it before. So we need to find what 0.2, which is a decimal, is equivalent to as a fraction over 50. So I'm going to demonstrate this one first of all, and then you're going to have an opportunity to have a go underneath. So the first thing I would do, you need to think very carefully about your decimal. Now 0.2, the 2 represents the tenths column. So it's actually, as a fraction, would be written as 2/10. 2/10, of course, is equivalent to 20th hundredths. So how can I now reduce that down to being over 50? Okay, well I can see here that to get from 100 to 50, I need to divide by 2. So I need to do to the top as I've done to the bottom. So 20 divided by 2 would give me 10. Okay, over to you guys now. Can you have a go at working out what 0.8 would be as a fraction over 25 by using my steps to success? So pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so you should have recognised that 0.8 is equivalent to 8/10 because the 8 is in the tenths column. 8/10 is equivalent to 8 over 100, which is always an easy fraction to deal with. And then how would we get from 100 to 25? We would divide by 4. So we do to the top as we do to the bottom. So that our answer would be 20 over 25. Okay, your turn now. Right, well, for this Friday, I've made it a little bit different. You are going to do an arithmetic test, but in a slightly different way. Okay, so your arithmetic test this Friday is going to be on Kahoot. Okay, you're not going to have as many questions because I want you to focus on just these key areas that we've been looking at this week and last week. So Google Kahoot, click on Kahoot when you find it, click play and enter the game pin above. Okay, although this isn't a formal arithmetic paper, you will still be able to email in your workings out and also let your teachers know the score that you got. Best of luck, guys.